The film begins with Emily in her car behind the wheel conversing with her boyfriend Kevin. In the middle of their conversation, the call abruptly disconnects. Confused, Emily looks at her phone and discovers that the screen has inexplicably shattered. With a mix of confusion and concern, she heads to a dinner party at Lee and Mike's house where a group of friends has gathered. Upon arriving at the dinner party, Emily immediately shares her unsettling phone experience with the group. She speculates whether the strange occurrence could be linked to Miller's comet, which is supposed to pass close to Earth that very night. Her friends, however, are skeptical and suggest that the broken phone might just be the result of an accidental drop. The discussion about the comet stirs a bit of curiosity, but it is quickly overshadowed by other concerns. Beth, another friend attending the dinner, informs Emily that Amir is bringing Lori to the party. Lori, who happens to be Kevin's ex-girlfriend, adds an unexpected twist to the evening's dynamics. Sensing Emily's discomfort and anticipating potential tension, Beth discreetly offers Emily a homemade remedy, describing it as a mix of echinacea, passion flower, valerian, and a small amount of ketamine. She reassures Emily that it's quite safe and can help take the edge off if she feels anxious. Emily, looking skeptical, asks if a clean needle is needed, to which Beth replies that it can simply be mixed into water. The mention of ketamine raises eyebrows, as it's commonly known as a horse tranquilizer, which doesn't seem to fit with the natural ingredients Beth initially listed. Emily points out the incongruity, but Beth downplays it, describing it as just a whisper of ketamine. Mike recalls trying ketamine once and suggests that perhaps Beth is offering this remedy because Lori, Kevin's ex-girlfriend, is coming to the party. Beth doesn't deny it, hinting that the remedy might help Emily cope with any potential discomfort Lori's presence could bring. At that moment, Emily's boyfriend Kevin arrives at the party along with another friend, Hugh. They greeted everyone there and started offering whatever was being served. Emily then asked Kevin if he knew that Lori was coming, but he didn't know. Beth told them that they got an email from Amir saying that Lori was his +1. The group is soon joined by Amir and Lori, Kevin's ex-girlfriend, adding an extra layer of complexity to the evening. They greeted everyone and Emily. As everyone gathered around the dinner table, the conversation naturally drifted to the strange issue they were all experiencing with their phones losing network connection. Emily reiterates her theory that these bizarre occurrences are linked to Miller's comet, which is passing by Earth that night. Emily elaborates, providing some historical context about the comet. She explains that Miller's comet was first discovered in 1923 in Finland. During its previous passes by Earth, there were numerous reports of people behaving oddly. Some couldn't recognize familiar faces, others ended up in unexpected places, and various inexplicable events occurred. Later in the evening, Mike mistakenly asks Lori if she's still working as a yoga instructor, only to realize it isn't her. This prompts him to jokingly suggest that maybe he's confusing Lori with Kevin's other ex-girlfriend, who Amir had also dated. The mix-up adds a bit of awkward humor to the gathering, lightening the mood momentarily. As the conversation continues, Lori asks Emily how she has been, bringing up memories of Emily's dance career. Emily shares a recent disappointment, explaining how she had devoted herself to creating a dance performance, only to be replaced at the last moment by another dancer, Svetlana Asarano, who was considered more suitable for the lead role. Emily was offered the position of understudy, but her pride prevented her from accepting it. She hesitated too long, and the understudy role was eventually given to Catherine Maris. Ironically, when Svetlana pulled out just before the premiere, Catherine stepped in and performed the lead role. This twist of fate propelled Catherine to success, leaving Emily to reflect on the consequences of her pride. Lori listens sympathetically, acknowledging the unfairness of the situation and how common it is for creators to be overshadowed by others. The group raises a toast to the lives they lead, finding solace in each other's company despite the setbacks and disappointments. They also toast to the comet passing by, symbolizing the unexpected twists and turns in their lives. Kevin shares a story to lighten the mood, recalling a time when he and Lori had been drinking too much at a bar. He passed out and dreamt of a black bear mauling him slowly and tenderly. Later, at a party in Santa Cruz, a huge dog ran at him, jumping up and pawing him exactly like in his dream. Suddenly, Hugh points out that his phone screen is shattered, just like Emily's. Others confirm similar issues with their phones, linking it to the comet they heard about on the news. They realize none of their phones are working and there's no internet either. Hugh asks if they have a landline, but Lee and Mike confirm they only have wireless phones. Desperate to contact his brother, Hugh tries the computer, but it also has no internet connection. The group discusses the comet and its potential effects, with Hugh explaining that his brother Brian, who interacts with theoretical physicists, had asked to be contacted if anything unusual occurred. At that moment, the electricity goes out, plunging the house into darkness. The group quickly lights some candles, and Mike brings out glow sticks for everyone to use. To get a better understanding of the situation, Mike steps outside to check the neighborhood and discovers that the entire area is without power, except for one house 2 blocks away that still has lights on. Curious and concerned, the group decides to venture out to see what might be happening at the lit house. As they step outside, they notice Miller's comet passing through the sky, adding an eerie backdrop to the already tense evening. After a brief excursion, they return to Mike and Lee's house, only to find a broken glass on the table, despite no one having heard or seen anything break while they were there. Hugh decides to go to the house with power to call his brother, despite the strange occurrences and the warnings from his brother, a scientist who had advised staying inside if anything unusual happened while the comet was passing. Determined to make contact, Hugh feels it is crucial to follow through with the advice. Amir volunteers to accompany him, insisting that Hugh shouldn't go alone. Emily then starts telling another story to the group, bringing up the Tunguska event, a real historical incident. She explains that over 100 years ago, a comet or meteor entered the atmosphere above Siberia and exploded. Although it didn't make contact with the Earth, the force of the explosion was so immense that it flattened trees for hundreds of miles. The group listens intently as Emily describes how, despite the explosion's power, it only killed about 1 or 2 people due to the sparse population of the area at that time. Someone points out that the comet this time is much closer, which raises concerns. Suddenly, a knock on the door startles everyone, causing panic to ripple through the group. Kevin grabs a bat and cautiously opens the door, only to find no one there. The eerie emptiness outside heightens their anxiety. Beth starts to panic, worried about her husband Hugh, who hasn't returned yet. The tension in the room escalates as the group grapples with the unknown. To restore some semblance of normalcy, Mike heads inside to turn on the generator, successfully bringing the electricity back and providing a brief respite from the darkness and uncertainty. The restored power offers a momentary sense of relief, but the underlying tension remains as they wait for any sign of Hugh and Amir. Just then, the doorbell rings and Amir and Hugh return. Hugh has a head injury with blood trickling from the wound, while Amir carries a mysterious box. Hugh appears shaken, clearly having seen something he doesn't want to discuss. Mike takes the box from Amir and opens it, revealing a ping pong paddle and a collection of photos of everyone in the group, each with different numbers written on the back. The bizarre contents frighten everyone, and they pressure Hugh to explain what he saw. Reluctantly, Hugh reveals that he saw an identical version of Lee in a house set up exactly like theirs, with a table arranged for 8 people. However, he didn't see himself there. This revelation raises questions about the strange occurrences, including whether Hugh was the one who knocked on the door earlier. Hugh denies this, but the group is clearly unsettled by the possibility of parallel universes. Determined to investigate further, Hugh decides to return to the other house. He plans to leave a note if he finds it empty, hoping to establish communication. As the group watches, Hugh writes a note, ready to embark on another unsettling journey into the unknown. The atmosphere is thick with tension and uncertainty as the reality of their situation slowly begins to dawn on them. At that moment, they notice a large figure walking beside the house. The group, already on edge, checks the front door and discovers a note that matches exactly what Hugh had written. "Hey there, I don't mean to freak you out, but we just wanted to borrow your phone for 5 minutes. Thanks." This eerie discovery terrifies everyone. As they sift through the photos found in the box, Amir makes a startling realization. He notices that his picture, taken today, shows him wearing a sweater he had just bought that day. However, he hasn't taken any photos of himself today. This revelation deepens their fear, confirming that something very strange and unexplainable is happening. The group is now faced with the unsettling evidence that their reality is somehow mirrored or duplicated. The presence of the note identical to Hugh's and the recent photo of Amir in a sweater he hasn't been photographed in today add layers of confusion and terror. They are left grappling with the implications of parallel universes and doppelgangers, trying to make sense of the increasingly bizarre and frightening situation unfolding around them. Despite extensive discussion, the group fails to uncover any clues about the strange occurrences. Emily discovers that the handwriting on the back of the photos is hers, adding another layer of mystery. The mounting tension and confusion drive everyone to the brink, prompting them to take action. Deciding to investigate the other house, they form a plan. Leaving behind Lee, Amir, Beth, and Hugh, the rest of the group, armed with blue glow sticks, sets out to confront the unknown. As they approach the other house, the eerie glow of the comet overhead adds to the surreal atmosphere. Upon reaching the front of the house, Mike is stunned to see his wife, Lee, inside. The sight of Lee in the other house solidifies the unsettling reality that they might be dealing with parallel versions of themselves. As they leave the other house, the group is startled to see a mirror image of themselves across the road, holding red glow sticks. This confirms their fears. A parallel universe is indeed at play, with events unfolding similarly, but with slight variations. The sight of their doppelgangers sends both groups into a panic, and they quickly run back home. Upon returning, they relay the unbelievable encounter to Lee, Amir, Beth, and Hugh. The revelation that they have seen identical versions of themselves shakes everyone to the core, confirming the extraordinary and terrifying reality of the situation. The idea of parallel universes, once a theoretical concept, has now become their inexplicable reality. Hugh and Mike decide to go outside to retrieve a book from Hugh's car, one that his brother had left behind, hoping it might offer some insight into their current predicament. However, the book they find is about gravitation, not directly relevant to their situation. Undeterred, Hugh flips through the book and finds some papers where his brother had planned a lesson about quantum decoherence and Schrodinger's cat. Hugh explains the concept to the group. In the famous thought experiment, a cat is placed in a closed box with a vial of poison that has a 50-50 chance of being released. In classical physics, the cat is either alive or dead. However, quantum physics proposes that until the box is opened and observed, the cat exists in both states simultaneously, both alive and dead. This principle of quantum superposition suggests that two realities exist in parallel, separate and decoherent from each other, until an observation forces one outcome to be realized. Hugh further explains that quantum decoherence ensures that these different outcomes do not interact with each other, creating separate branches of reality based on the different possible outcomes. The group begins to understand that the strange events and their encounters with their doppelgangers could be manifestations of these parallel realities interacting due to the comet's influence. The realization that they might be experiencing overlapping quantum states and parallel universes deepens their anxiety and confusion. The concept of decoherence offers a potential explanation, but also underscores the complexity and unpredictability of their situation, leaving them to ponder the unsettling implications of their newfound understanding. Mike begins to understand that the presence of the comet has created two distinct realities that coexist until the comet passes. He interprets the situation to mean that these realities are in a state of quantum superposition, only collapsing into a single reality once the comet moves away. Mike, increasingly paranoid, contemplates a drastic solution. He considers killing the other versions of themselves to ensure their survival. He fears that if he doesn't act first, his doppelganger might. The rest of the group, however, believes a less violent approach is necessary. They argue that returning the mysterious box to the other house might restore balance and prevent any further interaction between the realities. The group is now faced with a critical decision: follow Mike's aggressive strategy or attempt the more peaceful solution of returning the box. Acting impulsively, Mike speculates that his other self might be drinking, which could give him an advantage in a confrontation. Earlier, Mike had observed Amir, Hugh, and Lee in the other house, but noted that Lee wasn't there at the moment as she was sleeping. The group debates their next move, but Hugh insists they shouldn't take any drastic actions. This frustrates Mike, who is driven by a fear of being killed by his other self. As the tension escalates, Lee wakes up and Mike pulls Kevin aside to whisper a plan. He intends to blackmail the other Mike by threatening to reveal a secret about him sleeping with Beth 12 years ago. Kevin finds the idea absurd and advises against it, but Mike is determined and sets off to execute his plan. Meanwhile, Lee starts feeling woozy, attributing her dizziness to the ketamine she had taken earlier. Emily theorizes that Beth might have spiked the food with ketamine, causing everyone to hallucinate. Beth and Hugh vehemently deny this, arguing that even if they had taken an entire bottle each, it wouldn't cause mass hallucinations. This sparks a heated argument among the group in the living room. During the chaos, Hugh and Amir from another reality decide to leave with the book. When Mike returns, he informs Kevin that he followed through with his plan. Mike also mentions that he had been gone for 45 minutes, but Kevin insists it was only 5 to 10 minutes at most. Hugh and Amir then leave the place, carrying the book in the box. When the others notice their absence, they become suspicious of their identities, particularly noting that Amir had been acting strangely. Kevin wants to go outside to look for them, but Emily stops him, which frustrates Kevin further. As the group struggles to make sense of the bizarre events, they grapple with the possibility that they are interacting with versions of themselves from a parallel reality. In another room, Kevin and Lori grow close, sharing a private conversation. Beth, eavesdropping, overhears Kevin expressing frustration about Emily's reluctance to join him on a trip to Vietnam. The conversation culminates in a kiss between Kevin and Lori. Later, Beth reveals what she heard and saw to Emily, which strains Emily's relationship with Kevin, creating a cold war between them. The tension is interrupted when the electricity goes out again, prompting the group to light many candles. Amidst the flickering light, they hear the sound of a car outside and decide to investigate. They discover the window of Hugh's car is broken, adding to the growing sense of unease. While inspecting her own car, Emily finds a ring that Kevin had bought for her at a fair. Kevin starts acting friendly towards Emily, but he doesn't remember the incident with Hugh's car. This realization freaks Emily out, making her understand that the Kevin with her now is from another reality. Back at home, Kevin's demeanor shifts again, and he begins acting coldly towards Emily once more. Amir and Hugh arrive with a blue glow stick, and the group eagerly asks what happened. Amir and Hugh start to explain that they went to make a phone call, but Lori interrupts, pointing out that they've already shared this story. This raises suspicions as the group notices inconsistencies, like Hugh having a different band-aid than before. These discrepancies confirm that multiple realities are colliding, not just two. The group realizes that the Amir and Hugh standing before them are not the same ones they interacted with earlier. This revelation becomes even more unsettling when they consider that in the house Amir and Hugh came from, Mike is casually enjoying his drink. The group's understanding of the situation deepens, recognizing that there could be numerous versions of themselves existing simultaneously. The presence of different versions of Hugh and Amir, along with the changing details, underscores the complexity and danger of their predicament. They now face the daunting question of how many iterations of themselves exist in the same place and what this means for their reality. Everything has become increasingly complicated for the group. They decide to replicate the actions of the original team with the box and photos, but this time they use a coaster instead of a ping pong paddle and write numbers using a blue marker. Amir also takes photos of himself, posing differently from the previous images, highlighting the small but significant variations between the realities. As they compare notes, Emily asks Lee and Kevin about their numbers. Kevin answers correctly, but Lee gives different numbers, indicating she might be from another reality. The group realizes that while Lee and Beth never left the house, the others did, suggesting that they are now visitors from different realities. This is further confirmed when they notice that Amir and Hugh must be from a third house, since the original Hugh's phone screen was broken, yet this Hugh's phone is intact and functional. The group deduces that they never returned to their original house after venturing into the dark area. A dropped note reveals that Mike had previously written about his affair with Beth, and Hugh's reaction to this causes a commotion. As everyone already knew about the affair except Hugh, Mike tried to tell him they were visitors. He then started questioning him about his unbroken phone to make him realize he is from a different reality. The group is now faced with the daunting task of navigating these parallel realities and finding a way to return to their original one if it still exists. The situation escalates when another version of Mike appears and assaults the original Mike, adding to the chaos. Witnessing the growing disorder, Emily decides to leave and observe different houses in various realities. She sees that in most of these parallel worlds, the groups are embroiled in conflicts. However, she eventually discovers a house where everyone is content, and Kevin is friendly towards her. Seizing the opportunity, Emily waits until the happy version of herself steps outside to check her car. She then makes this version of herself unconscious and takes her place inside the house, relishing the warmth and affection of this Kevin. As the evening progresses, the injured Emily regains consciousness and returns to the house while everyone is distracted by watching the comet. In a desperate move to secure her place, Emily strikes the injured version of herself with a heavy toilet lid and hides her behind the shower curtains. She takes the happy Emily's ring. Emerging from the bathroom, Emily suddenly loses consciousness. When she awakens, it is morning, and the comet has passed. Outside, she encounters Kevin, who hands her a ring he found in the bathroom the previous night. However, Emily is already wearing a ring. The film concludes, in a final twist, Emily calls Kevin on his phone, even though she is standing right in front of him, revealing the existence of two Emilys in this timeline.